Alright, so in this video I want to share with you a few things that you want to start to do right now before the season kicks off. Doing this is going to give you a heads up on the coming growing season, and these are my pre-season tips. So we're about to start right now.
Keep it simple and just mow.
Alright, so tip number one, you have a brown dormant grass. I'm mostly speaking to Bermuda and zoysia people. Your grass is dormant and you see all brown. One of the things you want to do is find a way to get rid of all that dormant clipping. 3 ways to really go about this. My preferred way is to just take your mower down as low as you can go, scalp it, get rid of it completely. But when you do that, you got to find a way to manage the clippings. But doing this is one of the fastest ways to achieve an early green up, because when you get rid of all that dead material, that's going to open up the soil to the sun, and the sun is going to be able to warm up that soil at a much faster rate, and that will give you your early green up. Another way to go about this, instead of doing a one-time scalp, what you can do is just take your mower down little by little each time. Doing this, you're going to achieve the same thing, but the difference is you'll be able to manage those clippings. It's much more easy to manage, but still you got to find a way to dispose of those clippings. So maybe you don't like to scalp, or maybe you just don't want to bring your mower down over time gradually. So what you can do is decide on what height of cut that you like to keep your grass at. Whatever that is, whether it's 2 inches, 2.5, 3 inches, whatever your height of cut that you typically like to keep your turf at, bring it down 1 notch. Do your cut, bag up your clippings, and then raise your mower back up. Doing this, you're going to allow some of that new growth to go over the dormant grass, and that's going to give you a nice green up at the beginning of the season. It's not going to be a fast green up compared to scalping, but you'll still get green up. My next tip for you guys, this one is so underrated, but that's putting out your pre-emergent. Guys, pre-emergent is key. It's one of those things that's gonna give you an easier time managing your turf. Put out a pre-emergent. You can use granulars, you can use liquid. It's really entirely up to you. But remember, the way a pre-emergent works is that it needs to get down into the soil. And when you put it out, it's important to water it in. Watering in is gonna push it down to the soil, and that's going to create that chemical barrier, which is going to help you out and preventing new weeds from establishing itself. Now, when you put out pre-emergent the first year, you may not get 100% success rate at preventing weeds, but every time you put out a pre-emergent, spring and fall, and then spring and fall, what's going to happen is that you're going to win that battle of attrition, and you're going to see much less weeds year by year. But it's important to put out your pre-emergent, but not just put it out. You got to be mindful on how you put it out. So what I mean by that is, let's say you want to put out your pre-emergent. Don't go put out your granules or even your liquid and then the very next week come out and mow your lawn and bag up your clippings. You don't want to do that. If you need to do a scalp or just bring your turf down, do that first and then put out a pre-emergent. What you want to do is, once you put out your pre-emergent, you want to keep the ground as undisturbed as possible for as long as possible. This way, some of that pre-emergent can get down to the soil. The other thing you want to be mindful of is you have to water it in for it to work. But how you water is also important. On top of that, you gotta be mindful of when you water. You don't want to put out a pre-emergent if your turf is wet and soggy, because it needs to get down into the soil. So you put it onto a dry turf. Once you do that, you water it in. But if you have hills or slopes, you don't want to water for a long time. It's better to do multiple light waterings at a time. You don't want to do one heavy watering. This is especially important for people who have hills or slopes. You're going to find that as you water, some of that water is going to start to run off, and that's going to wash away some of your pre-emergence. So if you have hills or slopes, multiple light waterings is key. Whether it takes you the whole day or over a span of 2 or 3 days, just do light waterings, maybe 15-20 minutes at a time, 2 or 3 times over a day or 2 days. The next tip is weeds. Now, weeds are a little bit tricky depending on where you are and depending on the temperature and what you have to deal with it. It's a little bit tricky to deal with weeds because you got to be mindful. If you're using a post-emergent, the temperatures have to be at a certain limit for those post-emergents to work. You can't put down a post-emergent in the freezing cold temperatures. It's not going to work, or it's not going to work as effectively. You want to make sure the temperatures are high enough, usually at about 50, 55 degrees and up. That's when a post-emergent works best. So think about it for a sec. Imagine that you're a plant, okay? You come outside and you see the sun, it's shining down on you. What you want to do, you want to open your body up and just expose yourself to the sun. It just feels so good. But what happens when it's cold? When it's cold, you don't want to open your body up. You actually want to cover up, and you want to make your body as small as possible in order to conserve heat. The same thing happens to a plant. When it's cold, it's going to shrivel up, and it's not going to want to accept any type of chemicals you decide to put on it, which is why you need to apply a post-emergent when it's a bit warmer. Don't apply it when it's freezing outside. You gotta do it when the temperatures are high enough. Now, one of the most effective ways, if you have a small amount of weeds to deal with, is just go around your property and just pick them out by hand. It's not hard, and it becomes easier over time, especially if you put down your pre-emergent. And over time, every time you put out a pre-emergent, the little weeds that you tend to have will be much more easier to deal with. All these tips go hand in hand in order to help you have a successful growing season. Now, you notice I said nothing about fertilizers or any kind of high-end products. You don't need anything like that. The only thing you need is good practices, and those good practices are bringing your turf down over time or do a complete scalp. Not required, but definitely helpful. Putting out your pre-emergent. Pre-emergent is key. It's one of those things, if I had to choose one thing to do on my lawn, that's put out a pre-emergent. The only exception is if you have new sod like me. This year, I'm not doing a pre-emergent, but in years past, I've been really religious with pre-emergent. I like to do 2 apps. You can do 1 app, do what works best for you. But I'll link a video right here. This will give you a better idea on how I manage my pre-emergent program.